Come back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. Well, I still have Professor Akintenewa here, Yemi Adamolekun, and Professor David Awurawo. We just had a conversation on the occasion of Labor Day with the President of the Nigerian Labour Congress. Professor Akintenewa, let me start with you.
I think the comrade did well by reminding us about the challenges they've gone through. But I think that there are two main areas we should focus on. Celebration of achievements of workers. We should put it in context. If you recall the genesis, the origin of May 1, 1886, when protesters in Chicago, that's the Market Chicago protest, that led to serious massacre of workers on May 4. It was on this basis that the Second Socialist International adopted May 1 to celebrate that particular brutality, to say it will never occur. So, celebration here is not only positive, it's also negative. In the context of Nigeria, you know, police brutality, whenever there are peaceful protests, I think we should always highlight this in such a way that police brutalities must be brought to a standstill. We must never have that type of situation again. Because when the peaceful protest took place in 1886, they were saying that, they were asking that 8 hours, all right, for work, 8 hours for recreation, 8 hours for rest. And I think all manifestations of May 1 should look at all these aspects to ensure that priority is given to the welfare of the worker. When the Nigerian Labour Congress becomes a political party, all these type of themes, discussions taking place will fall within that particular agenda.
Well, welfare of workers, occupational safety are two of the major issues addressed at this year's May Day celebration. And talking about protests, there were protests across Europe, from France to Spain to Italy today. In France, a major target being the re-election of President Emmanuel Macron and the legislative elections in June. Yemi Adamolekun, let me come to you. It's Labor Day.
Thank you. So quickly, I was very glad to hear the president of NLC say that for them, they realize that the political parties are just platforms, so that they will engage them equally, and that they have a charter that they plan to engage the party. And I really do want to challenge the Nigerian Labour Congress this year to be very vocal about anyone, both at the state level and at the presidential level, that all candidates must participate in debates. As I've said on the show several times, one of the things that for me is very glaring as a defect in ASUU's campaign for funding of universities is that they've never made it an election issue. I've never heard ASUU challenge any presidential candidate or governorship candidate or National Assembly candidate on what is your stance on ASUU's request for funding. What are you going to do about our 2009 agreement? For National Assembly members, what laws are you going to put in place to ensure that we can educate Nigerian students who want to attend our tertiary institutions? So I do challenge Mr. Ayuba that NLC must take a front and central role in ensuring that all our candidates at the presidential level and governorship level participate in debates this year. So a lot of these issues become policy conversations. I'm glad that he talked about their PVCs and mobilizing workers, the 12 million plus the 8 million. I think it would be huge for Nigeria if Labour, excuse me, as a movement actively deploys their numbers to engage in this electoral process, make some of these critical issues election issues. Because Labour is associated with just campaigning for welfare. But you can't talk about, and I'm glad he made the point when he said in the UK it's plagued to inflation. You can't be advocating increase in salaries when we're not dealing with the structural issues that cause whatever you increase it to be worthless at the end of the day. So I really do hope that they take that forward for this elections. It's also very instructive. I like the question you asked him about did they not invite other political parties? And then it says a lot. You have 60 people who've expressed interest in running for president of Nigeria. That none of them, outside of the people in APC who are tied, really, even APC, you only had the vice president who was representing President Buhari and Mr. Ngige, who's Minister of Labour, who were there. All the other APC aspirants did not show face. The PDP aspirants did not show face. And I think that's really very significant. Professor Akinteriwa mentioned that when Labour has a political party, they do. There's a Labour Party. There's a Zenith Labour Party. You would even think those two parties would also be represented, showing solidarity with their comrades. And I think that speaks a lot in terms of how the issues of workers, our politicians really don't take them seriously at all. And then lastly, I also like the fact that he talked about them setting up political commissions, that it's in their constitution at the headquarters. They're setting it up at the state level and the FCT as well as the local government. Again, just a real challenge to Labour. ASUU has been on strike now for 3-4 months. I haven't heard them being supported by the larger Labour body. Their health issues, the gender bills were a classic one. Again, I think Labour issued a statement. But the fact that we're not deploying the strength of the Labour movement to push forward policies that affect Nigerians as a whole, I think it's a missing piece in the Labour movement in Nigeria. And I like that it seems that Mr. Ayuba wants to leverage their strength to push forward some more meaningful policies rather than just salary increases.
Well, on ASUU, organized labor has given the federal government an ultimatum and also threatened to go on a 3-day warning strike in solidarity with members of ASUU. But the vice president is appealing to ASUU and organized labor to take the option of dialogue because he says in his address that there is nothing that dialogue cannot resolve. Quickly, Professor Awurawo, before we take our final topic. Hello, Professor Awurawo. Hello, I'm not hearing you. There's a problem with the connection. Hello, Professor Awurawo.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Okay, yes, I can now, yes.
Good. I will begin with the ASUU issue, of course, for obvious reasons. The ASUU warning strike has entered the 3rd month. On the 14th of this month, it will become the 3 months will lapse, and no meaningful engagement has taken place between the government and ASUU. What that means is that if nothing drastic takes place between now and the 14th, the strike will even drag beyond 3 months. How can we possibly allow this happen? How? The vice president talked about dialogue, but nobody is dialoguing with anybody. Where is the Minister of Education? Where is the Minister of State for Education? Well, the last we saw him was when he went to procure a form for 100 million. 100 million naira will pay a professor for 20 years. The Nigerian professor earns the equivalent of $677 a month. That is the lowest on planet Earth. In Ghana here, it's about $2,000, which means the Ghanaian professor earns more than ×3 what the Nigerian professor earns. And we expect this thing to just go on like that? It is very disheartening. The vice president himself, I'm surprised that he talks about dialogue. What have they done to even say, let us even dialogue? ASUU is begging for dialogue, which is not taking place. The other side should go and meet one committee, whose positions are not binding on anybody. And the minister is there, the Minister of State is there. Well, I just hope that I'm very happy with Labour because I'm really very concerned. I'm looking beyond the professor, what they earn and all that. I think about the students. How can we admit students, they have spent a year at home before coming to school? And they came to school and had lectures for 3 weeks. And they have gone back home and 3 months have almost passed. And no discussion. It will likely drag beyond 3 months. How are we so irresponsible as adults? What are we doing to these children? And we expect these children to be nationalistic, to want to commit to the Nigerian project. I'm really, really sad, Dr. Abati, on the ASUU matter. I hope that with the renewed attention that the Labour position has drawn to the ASUU matter, we hope that government will now, take a firmer decision than it has ever done. Let ASUU, we also are appealing to, the ASUU leadership that let us be reasonable. We can't get everything we want, at once, but let there be a realistic dialogue. Let us reach some consensus somewhere so we can call off this strike. Okay. That is my point on the ASUU.
Thank you.
The NSC president also let me just comment on one more thing the NSC president said. He talked about wealth creation. I'm also happy that the NLC is now also focusing on wealth creation. We are not creating enough wealth. There's not enough to go around. So whatever policies we can put in place to enhance wealth creation in Nigeria is welcome. The other week when I spoke, I talked about the modular refineries that efforts were made to establish in the Niger Delta, and that the thing didn't see light of day. We hope also that now that discussions are along that line, that project that the vice president went to, somewhat kickstart 3-4 years ago, we hope that too, because those are ways to create wealth and take attention away from stealing crude and doing illegal things and discussing debt to people. So wealth creation, that should also be the focus of Labour, and of course the focus of all Nigerians, as we wish Nigerian workers happy Workers' Day.
Well, thank you, Professor Orawa. Let's take our final topic of the day. The terrorists that kidnapped passengers of the AK-9 Abuja-Kaduna bound train this past week released a picture of a newborn baby delivered by one of the pregnant women in their custody. The mother of the baby girl was said to have been 8 months pregnant before she and others were abducted by the terrorists on the Abuja-Kaduna train on March 28, 2022. The picture of the baby was released on Wednesday evening by the terrorist group suspected to be Ansaru, a breakaway faction of Boko Haram. Clad in a thick pink dress and a light lemon sweater cap with her eyes closed, the infant looks healthy. Family sources say the terrorists brought in their doctors to attend to the pregnant woman to ensure a safe delivery process. Yemi Adamolekun. Well, terrorists even have doctors who they can summon, and they run maternity services. How more audacious, how more, how much more bolder could they possibly be?
Well, I think from the days of Boko Haram, shortly after the Chibok girls' abduction, and the information that we had at the time, it was literally that they were running a parallel government. As we know, their flags were in certain local governments. We covered it on the show several times that people are paying taxes of some sort for protection. So getting people, in a sense, on their payroll who are doctors or pharmacists, whatever profession you're looking for, they probably have. And so I think we need to be clear that there are people within the boundaries of Nigeria that are running a parallel government. And I think what for me is very instructive is the fact that despite the several conversations that we've had, even with the release of the picture of the baby and the story around her birth, the federal government of Nigeria are still not engaged. And simply the number of people that were abducted, the number of people still missing, the number of people that have died, just even providing that level of information to citizens, they've not deemed it fit to do that. And the Minister of Transportation, under whose watch this happened, is running for president. So I think, it really is not too far-fetched that they are bold enough to do what they're doing and let us know that we're fully in control and we're fully in charge. If those who we have elected to protect our lives per the Constitution are sleeping on their job.
Well, Professor Awurawa, quickly. Professor Awurawa, are you there? Okay, while waiting for Professor Awurawa to join us, Professor Akintenwa, you go ahead.
One particular issue of interest is the fact that the terrorists are saying that they are not interested in negotiating with the relations of the victims, that they prefer to negotiate with the federal government of Nigeria. They simply want, an exchange of prisoners. They want their own criminal colleagues to be released. In exchange, for those under their own detention camp, terrorist camp. And this sends the message that we now have a terrorist organization that is posturing, suggesting that it is more powerful than the state of Nigeria. No, this is very ridiculous. Ridiculous simply because the government is sending a wrong signal to the international community that Nigeria is moving beyond a failing state to a failed state. And we are now waiting for a situation whereby now a baby given birth to in the forest, a doctor invited from the community, and yet the government is behaving as if it does not have information about the location. Please, for God's sake, I think the birth of this baby girl will remain a point for history in Nigeria's records.
Well, Professor Awurawa, if you have been able to join us again, are you there? We have just about a minute to go. Quickly, yes. Thank you.
Yes, I'm here. It's what more can one say? That over 1 month, these people are in the bush, and no serious effort is made to secure their release. It is as usual to your tent, to Israel, every man for himself, God for us all. Those who have money have been able to pay ransom and got some of their relatives released. Those who don't have, their relations remain in the bush. And this baby that is born in the bush. He's not released yet. Can somebody just imagine a baby, the needs of a baby, and the condition of forest? Even those who live in the rural areas, I mean, they have amenities to take care of a baby. But this is a forest, not the usual village setting. Well, what one can say? To appeal to government again that the birth of this baby should galvanize them to do something more concrete to secure the release of these people who have been in the bush for over a month.
Well, thank you very much, Professor David Awurawa. Thank you, Yemi Adamalekun, and thank you very much, Professor Bola Akinterewa. You've been watching This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on Arise News. I'm Ruben Abati. From my entire team here in Lagos, it's bye for now, and thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next week.